Together growing in faith, changing communities. Dear friends, welcome back into our channel. And I would like us to reflect today on the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14, from verse 13 to verse 21. When Jesus had heard about the death of John the Baptist, we are told that he withdrew by himself into a lonely place. And that's where I want to begin this reflection with you and ask questions, because Jesus had lost his friend. He had lost a companion. He had also lost his cousin. If we were to read and look at the Gospel of Luke, we soon realize that Elizabeth and Mary were related, which makes Jesus and Joseph also cousins. And so when Jesus hears about the death of his beloved cousin, how does he react? The first thing that we know he does, he withdraws to himself. He goes into a lonely place where he gives himself time to grieve. He gives himself time to understand and to accept the reality. And I think Jesus is teaching us that principle in our own lives, especially as people, as human beings. I always look at Jesus as God, but at the same time, I look at him as the Son of Mary. In him exist divinity and humanity. Now, if Jesus, the Son of God, the Son of Mary, saw it necessary to withdraw in order to be by himself, then he's probably teaching us one of the most important tips, skills in dealing with loss, in dealing with grief. To take time out, to accept the reality. Many a times I have heard people say, oh, we shouldn't be crying, we shouldn't be sad. That's not the Christian faith. That's not what the gospel says. That is not totally true. You go and you read the Gospel of John chapter 11. When Jesus hears the news that his friend Lazarus has died, his heart is saddened. The shortest verse ever in the Bible, Jesus wept. So when Jesus hears about the death of his loved one, he cries. When he goes and he sees Martha and Mary, both the sisters of Lazarus, they say to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And so Jesus can see and can understand their pain. But we also know this in the life of Jesus and his mother. When Jesus was dying on the cross, John the Baptist had already died, but John, the beloved, stood with Mary, the mother of Jesus, by the foot of the cross. Jesus looks at his mother as he is dying. He says, Mom, behold your son. And he says to John, friend, John, behold your mother. So there is this pain in separation. And we should never, ever make other people feel bad if they are feeling this isolation. It is part of our human existence. But the other thing, which is also a misconception in my belief, when people are feeling afraid, they are scared, they are fearful. You can still be afraid without losing your faith in God. You can be anxious without losing your trust in God. The two can coexist in us. We can be so fearful, we can be filled with fear, we can be afraid, we can be scared. That does not mean we are not good people. That does not mean we have lost our faith in God. We see this in the person of Jesus. The going and the withdrawing by himself allows Jesus time to allow the news to sink within himself. It allows Jesus the time to question things that are happening. With death, I have come to realize quite a number of emotions take place. We are thrown into a roller coaster ride. I can be angry, I can be sad, I can be bitter, I can be feeling absolutely miserable. I can be blaming myself. And we need to allow people to grieve as best as they can. That's the first principle that Jesus teaches us, is to withdraw to himself. And sometimes we need to do this thing in different level and different aspects of our beings. Physically, sometimes when possible, we need to do that. But sometimes we also need to do that emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. But at times, those around us do not necessarily understand. And you often hear this, and it can become a great cause of division, even in marriages, where one spouse blames the other one and says, but you've been in this room for way too long. You've been grieving way too long over the death of our child or over the death of your mother or whoever you have lost. We need to allow people and give them permission to grieve. We need to allow people to experience in their own way the loss that they know. Let them acknowledge it. Let them name it. Let them live it out. That's what Jesus, I think, it teaches us. That's the first thing. The second thing, which I also find absolutely powerful that Jesus does, as he has withdrawn by himself, he sees the crowds, because the crowd knew where he was, therefore they followed him. So Jesus sees the crowds, and when he sees the crowds, he has compassion on them. He feels the pain for them. I love the word compassion. This word compassion in Latin, if you break it down, com is cum, which means with. Passion is passio, suffering. So to suffer with. And this is important for Jesus, in as much as it is important for me and hopefully for you. Jesus is willing to use his own pain, to use his own struggles, to use whatever he has gone through. He is not allowing the suffering to have the last word. And that is important. Henry Nouwen writes a beautiful book, The Wounded Healer. And in this book, he has a beautiful concept. He talks about a wounded person, and he says sometimes we need to use our sufferings, draw strength from our own wounds in order to help someone else. I do not give. I'm not just being generous for the sake of being generous. Some people are generous because they know when they did not have enough. They know what it means not to have that thing. And because of that experience, they are able to share with someone else who is lacking in whatever. Just because I have suffered, it doesn't mean I should sit comfortably and look at the other person suffering. What Jesus is teaching us as a second tip, if you want to call it, is that let us use our own struggles, our own sufferings, and let's help someone else. Let the wounded person become a healer. And without us knowing, the healing takes place within ourselves. Because as we talk about our own experiences and we share those experiences with someone else, we soon become aware of how God has transformed our lives. We soon become aware of how God has healed us. Jesus teaches us something important, which is a third principle. And psychologically, this works. Sometimes being alone is good, but it can lead us into depression. It can lead us into absolute isolation. And it is a dangerous place to be at. Our minds are a dangerous neighborhood to walk all alone at night. When everybody is asleep and I'm lost in my own neighborhood, in my thoughts at night. Sometimes I can think of the worst scenarios. And our minds have the ability to create things that are not necessarily truthful. And some of them maybe have truths. And then if we stay in our minds way too long alone, it can become dangerous. And so the third principle that Jesus teaches us is to always look out for other people, to have someone else. And this allows us to move from me to someone else. Because if I stay in myself too long, I'm going to be drawn into the shadow of the darkness of my pain. It is okay to stay with the pain, but I mustn't stay too long with the pain alone. And I'm hoping that we have what I call a supporting structure. Everybody needs a supporting structure. We need people who understand us. I need a group of friends that I can talk to, that I don't need to pretend, that I don't need to be someone that I am not, that I know that I can talk to them, I can say whatever I want to say to them. They will never judge me. They will never use what I say to them against me. And each and every one of us needs that good supporting structure. People who love you, people who trust you enough to tell you the truth. But above all, these must be people who are here to support you. So they will know when you need a bit of a nudge. They will know when you need a bit of a cushion. But they know you and they love you. And so whatever they say to you, because you have this great relationship with them, you will take it. You will know that they have your best interest at heart. The other aspect of moving away from self to something else, to someone else, it allows us to realize that our own sufferings are not unique. Our sufferings are universal. What I'm going through, I am not the only person going through that. I'm not the first person going through that. And thank God, I'm not the last person going through that. But the more I go out to other people and the more I see the bigger picture, the more I realize that whatever I'm going through may seem too much at the moment. But if it is looked within the scale of humanity, it is probably a drop in the ocean. And one day I will look back and I will realize that thank God for those who were around me. So going out and looking and trying to make someone else's life better, that for me is something absolutely powerful. It is something absolutely wonderful. It is the best aspect of Ubuntu, where I go out and I realize I am because we are. We are because I am. The other aspect that I also find absolutely powerful that Jesus does in this text. When the people, the crowds come and they are demanding to be with Jesus, there is a greater realization that these people are also hungry. And that's important. While I can be within my own suffering space, I must try not to be selfish. I must try and acknowledge that there are also other people who are struggling. While I'm talking about my own loss in my household, in my family, I must realize I'm not the only one who is going through a difficult time. And my experience has been each and every one of us, we are fighting our own little demons every day. Just because people are smiling, it doesn't mean that everything is going well. Just because people are kind, it doesn't mean they have no battles. Yes, the grass always looks greener on the other side, but we all are struggling in life. And so we go back to that cliche. Our purpose in life is to help others. And if we can't help them, would we at least not hurt them? It is a cliche, but it still carries a lot of weight. And Jesus teaches us this. While he knows that he has lost a cousin, a friend, a companion, he's also aware that there are people who need him. There are people who are hungry. And that allows Jesus to grow. That's what I call transformation. Jesus is able to see other people. He's able to heal other people. He's able to minister to other people. And those who are around him, they say, well, Lord, let's send them away. And Jesus says, no. Give them something yourselves. And that is the last point I want to talk about. Mother Teresa once said, no one is so poor that they have nothing to give. No one is so rich that they have nothing to receive. You can make the difference. I can make the difference. All of us can make the difference. We are not done. We are not finished. There's still something we can offer to the world. There's still something you can offer to your family. There's still something you can contribute to your group, your circle of friends. God is not done with us. And once again, I wish you all the best. I wish you God's blessing. Thank you for being with us and reflecting this with us. Make sure that you hit that subscription button to subscribe. And please press the notification so that every time we upload a new video, you're the first one to know about it. And we wish you God's blessing. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.